Wonderful.
How's it
So I was just
going?
saying to, very well, I was just saying to everybody about morning tea with Lisa and Lee, and it's about community coping skills and connection.
Connection. Yeah.
And I've explained who I am, Lisa. Do you want to say who you are?
Yeah, I'm Lisa Oxenham. I'm the Beauty and Style Director at Marie Claire. I've been a journalist for about 20 years, a long, long time. And I write a lot about well-being and health, and I try to live it myself, make nice, healthy,
And you
nutritious
do it
food.
yourself.
And, well, I try to. I don't always, but yeah. And I love nature and outdoors, and I've got a daughter, and that's me in a nutshell, basically.
Fantastic. And we've got a Facebook group which is called I'm Back, which is teaches practical beauty tips and therapeutic tools for emotional balance. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about confidence, and we're going to touch on some self-esteem as well. And you've got some questions you wanted to ask me, haven't you, Lise? About
well, can you just explain what confidence is, first of all, Lee, and how that differs from self-esteem?
So self-esteem is really about our sense of inherent value and worthiness. So if you have distorted self-esteem, then it's really about having an over-amplified sense of your lack of worthiness and an over-amplification of everybody else's worthiness. And it tends to be quite a sort of globalized way of seeing yourself. And if any of you want to know about sort of thinking styles which are affected when you have low self-esteem, then we also did a video on thinking style. Confidence is more specific. It will relate to a particular area of your life. So often in a therapeutic sense, someone might come to me and they'll say, you know, I'm just not a confident person. But actually, when you dig down, you can actually find that they're confident in some area, on some level. Even people that have a bit of low self-esteem and confidence, they'll be confident enough to make a cup of tea. Thank you so much. We can hear you fine. Brilliant. So you've got to think about confidence as being specific to an area. So you might say, well, I want to become more confident in a particular area, and ask yourself, what is that area? And then there's a plan you can work towards to help you become more confident.
Right.
I think
it's not just a general thing.
It's not just a general thing, exactly. Whereas self-esteem is more of a generalized thing about our inherent value and worthiness, or lack of, so to speak.
And self-esteem comes from when you're a child.
Self-esteem can definitely be a conditioned response. So if you grew up in an environment where you didn't do well at school, where you felt humiliated, where you felt that you just couldn't get ahead, where you didn't feel seen and heard, maybe where your primary caregivers were too stressed out themselves or too caught up in their own stuff to really model what healthy self-esteem is, then you may have grown up with a conditioned response to not really understand your own inherent value and worthiness, which can then bleed in to feeling not confident to go for things. Does that make sense? And so I think that, you know, if someone has very low self-esteem, and they're really sure that they're a terrible person, then really what has to happen is they have to become less sure of themselves about how terrible they are in that context. Does that make sense? It's a funny way of looking at it. But, you know, because that's sort of being overly sure that you're such a terrible person, you need to minimize that, because it is a state of high emotion, that kind of state. So it's, again, as we've spoken about in lots of our other lives, about lowering the emotional response, lowering the high emotions, so you can think more clearly and more laterally. Hi everybody, thank you for joining.
And Lee, how do you lose your confidence?
Well, okay, so you can lose confidence by, say you go for something that's really important to you and you get knocked back, and then the way you perceive something that's happened to us, right? We're all going to go through challenges, and we're all going to have things happen that set us back. That is the human experience, right? And let me know if this is resonating with any of you. Let me know if this makes sense. that's a human experience, and that's how we build up our life experience. That's how we develop more resilience and ways and tools of bouncing back from things. And obviously, some people will be more challenged through life than others. So you can lose confidence, but it's having the tools, the behavioural tools, to help us get back. Now, I think when we're talking, thank you very much, Walk and Talk with Guts and Grace. I love that. Walk the talk with guts and grace. I think when we're talking about confidence, and you have an area of your life you want to become more confident in, or you've lost confidence, the number one thing is we all have to learn to tolerate the uncertainty that comes with trying something again or embracing a new behavior, right? The way it was explained to me, because I grew up feeling a real lack of self-esteem and a lack of confidence, right? The way that really helped me was understanding that the tolerating the uncertainty, which is the agitation of the nervous system, of not feeling you can really predict how this is going to go because we've got no pattern laid down, right? The tolerating uncertainty is the gateway to the change that you want to have. Right, so it's just part of the deal. Hello, Eliza. So we have to know that tolerating uncertainty is something that just goes with the territory of developing confidence in an area. And when we can learn to tolerate it rather than pulling back and saying I can't do it or being emotionally hijacked, then we start to make progress. And we tolerate the uncertainty by learning tools for emotional balance to help us calm the high emotion that will come with the stress response of thinking, I can't predict this, I don't know what's happening. And maybe a pattern match from an old experience where things didn't work out, right? We learn emotional balance tools. We've spoken about lots of those in other episodes that we've done. So we won't go into lots of those now. But then you've got to look, well, what are the skills that I might need to learn? The extra skills. So it might be you have to develop skills in a certain area. Now, when you'll be able to tolerate the uncertainty of maybe developing those skills and the emotional balance to keep you calm, then learning those skills becomes easier because your stress response is calm. So that opens up the ability to think clearly and absorb new information, new learnings, right? Then we have to be mindful of our thinking styles, and we went into this in depth in another series which is called Thinking Styles. Is this making sense, everybody?
It does. In fact, the gateway is the uncertainty.
Yes, exactly. So the gateway to change, so the behavior change into setting up new pathways to something becoming a reactive behavior rather than a behavior that is taking a lot of energy and time and thinking and emotional energy. The gateway to that is tolerating uncertainty. So if you think that when you learned to play tennis or when you learned a new skill, it took effort and it perhaps churned up feelings of not being sure about yourself or whether you could do something, and maybe self-doubt and that kind of thing. And then after a while, as you've gone through this, it becomes a reactive behavior, right? Is this making sense, everybody? But the gateway was tolerating uncertainty. And when you apply the tolerating uncertainty tools for emotional balance that we've spoken about in other lives, the skills that you have to learn, what new skills you need to learn, and being mindful of your thinking styles, then that gives you a plan to work towards to help you move forwards in the area that you need to. Let me know, everyone, if that made sense to you and if that was helpful at all. Send me some hearts or a comment or something so I know that the way I'm explaining this is resonating. And if it's not, then I'll try and explain it in a different way. But these morning teas are supposed to be just little bite-sized bits of information that I hope will help you over lockdown 3. But any questions, anybody? Thank you for the hearts.
Yeah, no, that's really useful, Lee, again, as always.